Welcome to Our Future is Kind, a podcast exploring how we build the future we want to live in, one kind act at a time. I'm your host, Michael Neese, president of Our Future is Kind, and your companion in conversations about kindness, leadership, connection, and courage. Each week, I sit down with thoughtful leaders, creators, and bridge builders to explore what a healthier, more humane future could look like, and the choices it takes to build it. These are honest conversations about purpose, culture, curiosity, and what it really means to show up for one another at work, in our communities, and in everyday life. Along the way, we'll unearth practical ideas, small but meaningful acts, and questions worth sitting with, because building what's next is a choice. So let's dive in. Today's guest is Lolita Guarin, and she is a renowned stress management expert, coach, speaker, podcaster, 6-time Amazon #1 bestselling author, founder of Be Amazing You, and a passionate instructor on Wellness University. She is also my co-author in a book where there were 25 of us all writing this amazing book, Joy Unleashed. And so it's really fun to be able to sit down with you again. Lolita, welcome to the program.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Michael, for inviting.
Happy to have you here. And I can't wait to introduce you to the world a little bit more. Do you mind just telling the audience what makes you, you?
I think first when I've been interviewed and started talking, someone asked me, what is so unique about me? And then I really started thinking about it. To be honest, we all are very, very unique. But at the same time, we're very, very similar. Like, for example, those who are listening in, they already can say, oh, she has an accent. So I'm from Lithuania. I came 25 years ago to U.S. to look for that money tree, because money grows somewhere. You just go and pluck them. And I work 60 hours a week just trying to prove to myself and others that I totally can do this, and I'm going to achieve my American dream. Now, everyone else in this planet already trying to have their own dream. So it's kind of the same thing as me being the same as everyone else. But at the same time, we are all very unique because we're all dealing with the same things that I have dealt. And I realized that a lot of stress came from my wounded childhood, that I also see a lot of us share. But we are afraid to really talk about that. And I'm being told that I'm very brave of just saying out loud that my dad was alcoholic, and that impacted my life tremendously. That especially has to do how I manage stress.
Well, yeah, growing up with some trauma is something that's really hard to tell other people about if they've never, experienced it. But as soon as you say it out loud and people have experienced it, they really get it, right? They really can key into who you are a little bit better. Yeah,
I do a lot of coaching and online classes and events, and I get people come to me and they say, my dad or my mom was also alcoholic, or even grandparents were, and they said, it feels that we need to be ashamed of that, and we don't go and ask for help. We try to totally ignore this and act like everything is okay. But when you think about it, we all grow up with trauma, small or big. It depends really who you are. But when you think the human experience itself, it's already very traumatic. I mean, when we are born, that's already very traumatic. And the first years where all the patterns are being imprinted in our memory, it really happens up to 7 years old. So we all have to adjust to this life, and we all have those traumas. And also there's a lot of parents that are not emotionally available, or they don't validate or approve of their children. And that child can grow up with very similar traumas of someone who will grow up with an absent parent, or the same I had a dad who was struggling with addiction.
Right. Well, and I assume that has in some ways informed how you approach the world. Can you talk to that a little bit?
I realize that more and more I talk with someone, they open up because I'm being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Now they feel like, I am safe here. I can say some things. And it looks like we're just so similar on the things that we continuously doing it because we think that's right for us to do. But when we open up more, we see that we can learn from somebody else's example. And just when someone went through something similar, that is possible for us as well. And I think especially now in today's world, when we look, there's so much of anger and resentment. But I ask myself this question, why someone is doing what they do? And there was always a reason why we behave. So when I realized that a lot of those patterns that, I grew up and I carried into my adult life, I realized that I'm doing this because I believe it's serving me. So now when I see a lot of angry people, a lot of resentful people in all divisions, and it's like, oh my gosh, where are we going? I do understand that. I do understand when someone would feel frightened or have a fear of abandonment or feeling not safe and can act from anger. So when I look at someone who's really suffering, and I believe only hurt people, as we know, and I have empathy. Before then, I had a lot of anger. And then now I just would like to hug everyone and say, listen, okay, what happened? Where is this really coming from? But also that comes to me too, because the moment when I feel like I'm triggered, I ask myself now, okay, where this is coming from? And then it's very important to be kind and have empathy towards ourselves as well.
Well, you are such an ideal guest to have here on Our Future is Kind, because I think it's that lens that you bring, that ability to have compassion, to have empathy, to want to wrap people up in your arms and give them that hug and tell them that it's going to be okay. Is this something that you had to fight to get to? Because it sounds like before you had anger and then you eventually reached this compassion. What was that transition like?
So when I got physically ill, because I was, stressing out, and because I came from the wounded childhood, that's mean my anxiety levels were always high by default. So when I introduced more stress into my life, my body says, okay, wait a minute, you cannot do this anymore. And I did all of those stress management bandages, as I call, meditate, journaling, yoga. But, you still take yourself with you no matter where you go. And so I was still thinking a lot of stressful and anxious thoughts and, overall, like just being me, wounded child. And then I was reading this book about how to get more coaching clients, because that was the beginning of my coaching career. And the author mentioned that her dad was alcoholic, and there was the whole terminology for that. And that's how I discovered adult children of alcoholics. And for those who are listening, I wrote the whole book of stress management for adult children of alcoholics, where I go in very detail and it's examples of my own personal stories. But then I got very angry that I realized I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's why I'm reacting like this, because I constantly felt threatened. My dad, when he would drink, he would be very violent. He was throwing things, and I'm only one child. So I had no brothers or sisters to cuddle together, and my mom was fighting with him. So it was very painful. And when I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm like this because of my parents. Now that's where I felt a lot of anger and resentful towards my parents. And I was like, oh my gosh, how they could do this. I was the only one child, not like 20 kids, that you can overlook.
Right.
Only one, and you couldn't even do one. But then more I was reading about the trauma and really healing myself, of seeing, okay, this is why I react that way. This is what triggers me. This is how I can remedy this. One day it just really hit me of, wait a minute. My dad is struggling with addiction because he'd been through childhood trauma himself. And then I started thinking about my grandparents. And I still remember how my dad, when he would get back home drunk, and there were landlines back in the day. Right. Who remembered those?
Yes.
And he would call my grandparents, and I still remember him saying, why you don't love me? What did I do wrong? And then it hit me that my dad is not this authority who knows everything, does everything right, that I need to look up to someone and be fearful because, he's not providing me food and shelter. Now, as an adult, I realized that he was still the wounded child inside. that still needed hugging and telling everything's going to be okay. And then I start looking like, okay, well, all right, so, and I remember how my grandparents were really excluding him because he was like the oldest brother, and he will take care of they had like little farm and growing things, and he will go with his father and take care of those things. And then his younger siblings, that the difference is like 5 years difference between the second one, the younger ones were always with the mother playing around. And I could see how from his perspective as an older child would say, why am I have to do everything, work so hard, and those kids doing nothing?
Right.
And because those kids were too young to probably do that, of course, when they got in the teenage years, is the story a little bit different. But so he always felt excluded. Mm-hmm. And I think if my dad's asking his parents, why you don't love me, there's obviously something happened between them. And then they went further. I was like, okay, so my grandparents acting like that. Let us think about my grandparents. And this is the same lineage. So my grandparents were wealthy during Lithuania, time when it was independent between World War I and World War II. And then World War II happened. And because they had money and property, Russians came and occupied Lithuania during the World War II, just history, and took a lot of people to Siberia to die. And my grandparents also went there too. So when I started really thinking about the whole, okay, let's just think about the whole humankind now. There's always suffering, there's always fear of abandonment, there are always somebody's dying, there's all diseases, there's always abandonment. So then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I have wounded child because my parents didn't know how to show the kindness and love and be, let's say, do good parenting, the same as their parents and the parents before. And this is generational. And that was a breakthrough for me, because then I started looking at my parents as toddlers. They need to be hugged, not as an authorities that they mean and they punishing me for no reason.
It speaks to so many experiences that people have across the globe. I think about our country here in the United States, where generational trauma was passed through so many generations of enslaved people through to any of the descendants who are around today. And when did that ever have time to heal? And how can we help people understand how we love them and we see the value within if they have that hurt inner child?
But there's an additional layer to this. You know, when we think about, let's say, this country, the whole country is, let's just say majority of the country, truly immigrants. The wealthy and healthy would not be migrating. Usually it's come from when you're leaving your house, this means there is a need for you to go to a better place.
Right.
That means you're suffering. So that all suffering came to this country to do all the immigrants and the generational famine and struggling. But also, you know, it's very important to pay attention as religion, and it just take any religion really. Probably we can, if somebody can say, well, Buddhism is all about loving and caring, but it still has the wheel of karma that says you are trapped. This also comes from a place of fear. So when you think about it, I think the whole religion's point when this just starts, when it has a pure intention, that's great. But then the human comes and then tries to put in systems, and it becomes this controlling institution that's putting actually more fear into people. And then when we think about those generations, we're coming from the Middle Ages where, you know, oh my gosh, you should not even touch anyone. So then you separate and isolate yourself as a human being when you really truly want to be loved, appreciated, and seen. And so no wonder we don't even know how to express ourselves, even to ourselves. We are afraid of ourselves because we've been told that loving and caring is selfish, and martyrdom is the great deal. That's how we need to live, because we need to suffer so we can die and go to heaven.
Well, I noticed the book that is over your shoulder that's all about self-care. And you're talking about us as people having a hard time sometimes giving ourselves love, giving ourselves compassion and empathy. Can you talk a little bit about self-care and your writings about that?
So when I published the first book, it was called Crush Stress While You Work. Yes, I needed to come up with a more complicated title, but they say you need to be very strategic and niche pointed. When I mentioned I got sick and then I became a stress management coach because I was just so happy the way I saw results in myself. So I just started teaching and preaching all around who listened to me. And then somebody told me in the party, hey, you can be a coach. And I'm like, what is that? And that's how I became a coach. And I love doing that. I love seeing the transformations. And, one thing I realized that is particularly about stress. We are wearing badge of honor of having this, oh, I'm stressed. Like, just think about it. I used to hang out, and now I'm not that much. Probably you as well, because we're very aware of things. But, when you meet someone that you haven't seen a year or whatever, you always ask, okay, so how's it going? The answer you usually get is how busy they are, right? Mm-hmm. My gosh, the kids, the job, the business, the parents, and the economy. Oh, my God, don't get me started. Nobody tells you, oh, I just went on this amazing vacation, and you know what? Or I just had this amazing morning where I was just, drinking coffee and looking at the birds outside. Did you see the sun this morning? Yeah. It's not, there is this, everybody in the society, and it's not particular about this country, like the whole human kind, the same martyrdom, it's the badge of honor. Mm-hmm. And when I became a coach, I will go to a lot of networking events and, just speaking to people and mingling. And the moment, there are introductions, and then they're like, what do you do? And I say, I'm a stress management coach. And they will say, oh my gosh, everyone needs you. I am so stressed, and then I hear the whole how stressed they are. And then I will say, okay, well, that's great. I would love to help you. Would you like to schedule an appointment?
Right. Yeah.
No, there were no appointments.
Right.
And then at first I thought, well, that's interesting. I guess I didn't do a good job of selling myself. But then again, when I went through all of this, I get discovery that everyone is dealing what they're dealing and they're behaving the way they believe this is helping them, and only hurt people hurt others. And then the more I look around, I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, they cannot get rid of stress. They cannot start self-care because you are useless. If you come, and that's like not even my words, as Dr. Gabor Mate said, I probably said wrong way his name. You probably heard of him. He says when somebody grows up in the environment where they've been emotionally abandoned, God forbid physically, basically any abandonment wound, then we feel we need to be productive. If we stop, then we're useless, and then we'll be discarded. Mm-hmm. So we continuously working, running towards the horizon, and forget about stopping and smelling the roses, because then you will look like a member of a group that doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. It's useless. So then I realized, wait a minute, so all those people who even they stress, they're wearing this badge of honor because they're showing to the rest of the world, you see, you need me. Mm-hmm. And especially I see with those parents who children leave the house, and then especially women, they say, wait a minute, so what am I supposed to do now?
Right.
And the purpose is very important. Like when you look at men and women handle stress very differently because we're very different. But when you look at the men, at the moment when they retire, there's it's a high mortality rate. Because they lost the purpose.
Right.
Again, we're going to the same purpose. But we understand purpose like contributing to society and our family and ourselves as working hard. But if this is time for us to start changing this point of view of saying, taking care of yourself first, you need to take care of yourself first. And when I got into the coaching and I actually started getting clients that were not afraid to book sessions with me, they would be those busy entrepreneurs who like, I cannot do this anymore. My doctor told me I need to manage my stress. And then we'll just ask them, okay, so what you been doing before? And then we will discover this wound that they feel like the only thing that they need to do is continuously running towards horizon and taking care of everyone. And, I would tell them a very simple task, a very simple thing that I can tell you right now, and all the listeners right now can actually pay attention what I'm going to say. I say there's a very simple trick. Use the phone for something good, for once. Put an alarm on your phone to ring every hour. And then stop whatever you're doing. Of course, if it's safe, okay, disclaimer, right? It just, you know, your surroundings. And stop whatever you're doing and just be mindful. Just do absolutely nothing, you know, the Wu Wei way, and just observe. If you want, you can close your eyes and just listening to your body, scan your body, you know. This is nothing, I'm not saying anything new here. It's like, well, you said it's going to be something fantastic here. And then you schedule this into your day. This is what I tell my clients when I see them the first time. And what I hear back. And now, all of those who are listening in, what did you think? How did you feel when I said that you need to take that 1 minute from that hour?
Right.
Did you feel guilty? Did you feel like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid, this is so simple, there's no way for me to do this because stress management need to be stressful to manage?
Right. Yeah.
Your reaction, how you're going to answer this question tells a lot about you, how you're managing your stress. So those clients come to me and they say, are you kidding me? I don't have even time for this 1 minute. I'm running this corporation. I'm doing this. And then I say, okay. So imagine now 5-10 years down the road, you're in a hospital because you didn't take care of yourself. Who's going to take care of those kids, of those companies, and of those aging parents?
So everybody who's listening in, definitely look in the show notes because we will have ways for you to get in touch with Lolita to schedule that session. And I want to remind everybody who is listening or who's tuned into this podcast, you're worth it. You have value even if you're not sprinting toward that horizon, even if you are not productive every second of every waking moment. So take the time, take Lolita's great advice. And this brings me to your chapter in our book and also some of the materials that I see over your other shoulder. You mentioned the calm process in your chapter in Joy Unleashed. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that process?
I would love to, but there's something that I want to add on to what I just said.
Yeah.
It's like this, the other part of the coin. It's, I hear all the time, and probably you can relate, parents who have adult children, especially, let's say, women, I hear, they say, oh, my daughter married, and she's just doormat. He doesn't respect her. She just works and works, and why did she choose that man? So what I want to say is when you take care of yourself, it's not that only you refilling your energy, you're replenishing yourself, and then you can give others, but also you teaching the people around you how to take care of themselves too. So if you don't want to take that minute, if you don't want to take care of yourself, if you don't want to enjoy that sun outside and smell the roses for you, do it for your kids. Because you teaching them, we learn everything from what we see. That's how we learn, not by telling a child, you need to do this. No, by showing example. So when you start doing more self-care and managing your own stress, because that's what we're talking about, right? You're going to teach them how to manage their stress. So by you living healthy, you will teach them how they can live healthy and they can teach their own kids. So really by you taking care of your own health right now, you're impacting the rest of humanity, even if you are an employee, even if you are an employer, even if you are a friend. So think about it. You know, we all one when you think in general, right? This is all one. When you make that little difference, it ripples all around without you even seeing it, but it surely does. And now I'm going to go back to that question that you just asked.
Wonderful.
Unless you want to add something to what I just said.
Oh, no. I love the wisdom that you just shared.
So the calm process, and it arrived to that because when I was teaching a lot of clients and online and events and things, I came up with all the book of Crush Stress While You Work, just tips and tricks, and different things work for different people. But then I came to conclusion that there is a formula that I realized I was following myself, and I recommended my clients to follow, that made a difference, and it was so simple that it's like a no-brainer. So And I will talk, I introduced every part of this, and I will explain deeper, because on the surface it looks like it's a very simple thing to do, but there are hidden things that need to be addressed in order for the process to actually work properly. And actually going through the whole process, it's already you working on your stress by just doing this, and I'll explain to you why. So let's just, for those who are listening in, or let's just do a short coaching session, right? Why not? So someone can think about some issue right now that they're stressing about. It could be big, could be small. It really doesn't matter, because I think this process really works for a lot of things. So calm. The calm stands, every letter stands for something. And 4 simple steps. The C stands for control. Can you control the situation, or you cannot? Now think about that stressful situation you're in and think, can I really control this? Because when you think about it, if it has to do with other people, the weather, the economy, the politics, you really cannot control them. It's like being stuck in traffic. You can beep whatever you want, but the traffic's not going to move. But what you can control is your attitude. So, for those who, most of the time, when we in a stressful situation, we would not be in there for that long if we could control it. If you have control, let's say I'm hungry, I'm going to go and eat. I'm thirsty. I'm stressing. My body's stressed. I'm thirsty. I will go and drink a glass of water. That means I can control the situation, and then I don't have that stressful situation. So majority of our stress is really coming from something that we believe we cannot control. But here is the deeper issue here, is we need to start asking ourselves, and that's the inner work of what about the situation making me fearful? What do I think the worst thing that's going to happen? How is this impacting my fear of abandonment, especially when we're dealing with people? Why is this making me feel unsafe? Why am I so eager to control the situation? But then you need to remember, you still can control something. And that's where there's a little opening for you to change your mind and feel that you're not completely in the corner and you're completely hopeless. It's an understanding that you can change the point of view, the way you look at things, and you can control how you feel and what you do about that. So that's when you move into letter A, is the acceptance and appreciation of the situation. This is what they call find your silver lining in it. And, I've dealt with a lot of people who they say, are you kidding me? I have cancer. Find me silver lining in this.
Yeah.
Or someone has cancer, or they're dying, silver lining, are you kidding me? But you probably heard a lot of those stories as well. I know, Michael, you into all the kindness stories, so even those who are sick, or they're dealing with other people, for example, that are sick, there's always the silver lining of that was the time for them to slow down. That was the time for them to appreciate their own relationships with others. That was finally the time when they can sit down with their grandkids and tell them stories, because that was the time for them to stop work and actually start taking care of yourself. That was the time for somebody to actually get in touch with that relative that they never find time to reach out, and now they actually rekindle that relationship. That's even maybe when we look from a metaphysical point of view as a human experience, everything that we do and we see and we feel, that's an experience. And that's on its own, it's already worth living through it. So when someone is in that stressful situation and then realize and answer that question of, yes, you can control, no, you cannot control, then you really need to look at the things that you still can control. So one simple exercise I also recommend for those who feel hopeless is starting a daily list of just, those who love writing lists, and anyone who can dictate or just think about it while you're in traffic. Remind yourself that there are a lot of things that you still can control. You can control waking up. You can control eating. You can control when what clothes you're going to put on, So it's not like completely hopeless. And when we are in any stressful situation, when we feel in a corner, we feel like we're about to die because that fear is really trigger our fear of abandonment. So we think this is the end of the world. So first, really identify what you still can control in your life. And then make yourself a list of what is the worst thing that can happen. That's again, that's not my idea. I heard from someone else. But what is the worst thing that can happen? So now, I mean, we're living in a very stressful environment right now. So we can say, let's say somebody is afraid they're going to lose a job. Okay, let's make a list. What you're going to do, what's your next step about that losing that job? And then were you already prepared? When you're going and you're thinking through it, you're already giving the energy to something that you can control. You see, you already realizing it. You know what? I'm gaining more of control. So that's how you start to let go of that grip that this is so stressful and I'm going to die. And then we move to the letter L. And that is where I invite everyone to really start observing what are your actions. Better yet, if you can write it down, what is that about that specific issue that you are doing? Even thinking, even feeling. And all of that needs to be put honestly. And also remember small things that we think that's natural to us, so we discard them as being something useless and not meaningful. For example, someone can say, when I'm feeling stressed, I just go for a walk. But they don't write that that's the action that they do because that's how they handle all the stresses, right? So they don't put that they're going for a walk. But that's something that is still your action. So when you come up with that list, and this is when the real work starts, when you look at it and you identify what's working for you and what's not working for you. So, for example, if you're going for a walk and you know that calms your mind, it's working for you. And then let's say you're stressed out and then you call all your friends and still commiserate about how bad it is. Is this really working for you? It's not working for you. No. So then you identify what's working and what's not working, and then L stands for limit. We need to limit what doesn't work. Stop calling those friends and trying to commiserate about how bad it is. And then multiply what works. Like if going for a walk clears your mind, go more for walks.
Wonderful.
But then it's like somebody can listen to me now and can say, you probably even you, Michael, you're like, okay, well, geez, well, that was, like rocket science. Like, tell me something here. Here is the key. We need to look through that list, specifically in the one that we continuously doing that does not work. And that is, I see, it's so related to all of our conversation that we had at the beginning of our time here of childhood traumas and wounds. And let's just say patterns, how we live and how we act. Let's just don't put negative and positive. Let's just say those are the blueprints, how we do life. So when you look at that list of things that you continuously doing but it doesn't work, ask yourself, why are you doing it? And so many times I see clients who we already identify what they're doing wrong, or let's say what's not helping them. And they continue doing that because of a loyalty to those patterns. And I had a client, this is a very good example. She told me that in the morning, she wakes up early before her family wakes up and she needs to attend to them. She goes for a run. Because I asked her, what are the things that you do that helps you to manage your stress? And she said, I'm a very healthy eater. I do a lot of exercises. My main thing is I go for a run. Okay, that sounded great. And then, we dig deeper and then I said, okay, so why do you run? And then we realized that she is running not because she loves it. She actually hates it. She wants to sleep in. She wants to have enough of energy every day. But she was running because her dad used to be a runner. So she was honoring her dad's memory, who passed away from cancer, by running in the morning. So that's not even about her loving the running. It's about her still that inner child that waiting for the father's approval.
Wow. Wow. That's so profound to be able to pull that out of a coaching session to help her. Did she adapt what she was doing then?
Yes, she stopped immediately doing the running. But
Great.
This is how all of us, this is the whole all calm process is really identifying, like getting the grip over your situation, proving to yourself that you're not hopeless, that there is still hope, and then doing something that you love doing it, that makes your heart sing. And stop doing those things that you think you're doing because you have to do it, or somebody told you to do it, or looking at the loyalty and saying, I need to let this go, because there's so many things that we're continuously doing and beating the head in the wall we think is going to work for us because we saw somebody else doing it.
It sounds like so much of what you're advising all comes back to self-reflection. It comes back to really knowing yourself. Can you speak to that?
So there's the moment I start working with someone, I say, okay, your homework is to do every single day, do something that you love doing it. Even if 5 minutes, like say someone loves reading it. And now I recommend for those who are listening in, find something that you love to do and then do it every day. I hear comments of, well, I love traveling. I cannot do this every day. It's like, yes, I get it. But find something like drinking a cup of coffee in the morning in peace and quiet for 10, 15 minutes. I don't know, let's just say that. And try to do this. Or somebody loves reading. How about you give yourself 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. By the end of the day, you will read that book for 5 minutes. What it does is showing you that you're honoring your needs. That you're showing up for yourself. The same as going through the whole calm process. You're showing that you care of your inner child. You are not abandoning your needs as you've been taught to do. But the problem is when I start asking people, let us create a list of the things that you love to do and how are you going to honor your needs, there are many that is just staring at me. They're like, I don't know. Because when we grow up in the environment where we were not celebrated for our individuality, but we've been told that we need to follow the rules, we need to be as your brother, as your neighbor, and you better behave, and this is what you need to do, we're even afraid of our own needs. We learned that we don't even have any needs. So when somebody's asking, okay, I need to do my self-care, they don't even know what they like. And that's the point, is when the last letter M is multiplying something that you like, but also asking people for help, looking at others, not by thinking they are better than me, so I need to do whatever they're doing. No. This is just like, imagine everybody around and all the information. We live in the 21st century, internet, everybody can access, and like, look to AI and it can give you a great summary of what you can try. You need to try things. So I recommend for those who come to the point of like, I don't know how to take care of myself, try out. Imagine all the world is like a big menu. You come to the restaurant, you don't eat just because somebody else is eating. You don't eat everything. You just try and pick and see, how do I feel about this? So we need to drop the loyalties, not being afraid. We are not going to abandon, we will not be abandoned, because I'm assuming everybody listening in here are adults. But the most important part is, let's stop abandoning our own inner child and our own needs. And that's where we need to start.
I love that. That is such a great piece of advice. So everybody, hopefully you're writing these notes down, but if not, it's okay, because you can always get in touch with Lolita, or you can read one of her amazing books. But I want to shift gears now. I want to take you down a journey that I love to go down with all of my guests. So Lolita, are you game to do a really cool mind experiment?
Yes, I don't even know what questions you're going to ask. That's super exciting.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So at Our Future is Kind, we try to envision what the future should look like. And so you and we're going to get into a time machine right now. We're going to go forward to the year 2126. So it is 100 years in the future. So add 100 to the age of anyone you know. almost any of those people are gone by then. And so it is our descendants. It is our nieces and nephews who've had children. It's our children who've had children. And those people are incredibly old. So we are in the time machine. We go forward 100 years. You and I get out and I say, hey, Lolita, we did all the right things. We did everything great. So as we step out of the time machine, what are you looking for to find out if what I told you is true?
The first thing, we would stop abandoning our own needs. So if someone says, you know what, I'm hungry now, they can go and eat. Somebody who say, you know what, I feel a little bit sad. They are not afraid to reach out to the person in the grocery store line and receive a hug. Someone who is, they going through something that's, let's say, illness, although I believe we'll let go of a lot of illnesses in the future. But let's say someone is going through something that right now, we see this as a very painful experience. I believe in 100 years, we will have so much empathy towards that person, and we'll say, wow, you're so brave to choose to experience something like that. How I can help you to experience what you want, how I can help you to go through this and getting the most value. And then listening to other people and honoring their needs as well, without the trigger of, if they don't listen what I tell them to do, I will be abandoned.
So now here's the follow-up question for you. Everybody is honoring their needs. Everybody is doing the things that you've said. And you're so delighted to see it. But I said we got here by doing all the right things. What are all the right things to get us there?
Stop abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
From simple things, even asking yourself, how does my body feel? Do I feel my clothes are tight? Should I take them off? Should I get different clothes? What am I eating? Do I really like this? Or I really think I need to eat this because I've been told to do that. Because when you're swallowing that food with resentment, you're creating more resentment. You're not really helping yourself. So giving yourself permission to really honor yourself and be you. You know what they say, shine your light. Well, what does that mean, shine your light? That's mean honoring your needs and be okay with that without feeling shame, and also honoring other people's needs without feeling of being abandoned or being scared of their needs being met. Because, you know, I hear a lot of, well, if everybody can do whatever they want, we'll have a horrible life because, you know, will be robberies and rapings. It's like, no, because only hurt people hurt others. Somebody who wants to rob or hurt other people, they doing this because they didn't have enough love. And remember, we learn from generations. We give ourselves permission to be ourselves and experience things because we've given permission to ourselves, and others do the same. So having that empathy towards others and changing the world really starts with having empathy and honoring your own needs.
Love it. I want to go to your future. It sounds amazing.
Let's do it.
Wonderful. Well, in the meantime, before we get 100 years into the future, there are days when it can be hard to get out of bed, look at the news, go do our work, go find other people to hug, do anything. When you hit one of those hard days, Lolita, what do you do? What keeps you inspired?
So I would do a lot of those before, where I will feel one day is amazing, I'm so positive, the next day I'm like, and sometimes we'll feel like out of nowhere, because I'm like, oh, well, I guess I talked with someone and I felt so deeply for them that now my day is all, you know, sad. Or there are days still that I would wake up, like you say, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it feels like this is the end of the world, you know. And I learned one thing. I realized that I was repeating the same patterns over and over. Naturally, we are afraid of dying. That's why we all do that, right? Like all the fears of abandonment, all of those things really associated with being afraid to be hurt and just really die. And then I realized that all of those times when I will do this, and even being on those low days, guess what? I didn't die. No matter how bad it got. Now, those who are listening right now, I'm assuming alive people.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, I lived through all of that. So I can live through whatever comes as well. I don't have to manage this right now, what maybe will not happen. I need to stop scaring myself.
Right.
And also, it was just actually a few days ago when I had we had the freeze in Houston here, and my tire was low, and I was like, okay, well, I cannot go anyway. I need to go to the gas station. I was moving slowly, but I was not upset anymore. I remember a few years, not a few years, probably, 5-7 years ago, when if I will get tired like this, I'll be immediately upset and thinking, oh my gosh, why this happened to me? All of this wounding up. And now I was just like smiling, and I thought to myself, you know what? It could be worse. I could be not moving the vehicle at all. So, hey, I'm a winner.
Right.
I'm still moving. So it's only about the point of view, how you're going to look at this. And now I got to the point when something is low, I realized this, like, okay, this is the time for me to really slow down. And I will live. I'm not going to die. And I will allow myself just to feel it and ask myself, okay, where is this really coming from? And many times I realize that a lot of this down really comes from other people or situations that I see that, I really cannot control. And at the moment, as it is with emotions, if you ask yourself, where this is coming from, and then I allow myself to live and just feel into it, it runs out. And then through this whole process, I realized I have more control, because we were talking about how we can feel better in the situations. And I realized, you know what, again, it could be worse, but I'm still alive. And I'm doing great. And then this is the moment when, we say, start counting your blessings and start counting what's that you're already controlling and actually going well in your life, where you're doing good. And I help myself to get out of that sooner than I used to. Sometimes even like within 1 minute, just the intention itself of looking at me from a side and saying, oh, okay, I have one of those days. So what do I want to do? Because that's how honoring my needs. And they say, you know what, I really need to go to the gym today, but I really don't feel like it. And you know what, I'm going to get on that couch and I'm going to watch a Netflix movie. And that's how I'm going to take care of myself.
I love that. So being responsive to what you need in the moment. That's so beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Do you listen to particular podcasts? Do you watch anything in particular, or do you read anything in particular that you find yourself coming back to time and time again? Things that you just love to come back to re-experience?
So I rarely listen to music now that has words, rarely, unless I'm in a party or I'm going dancing somewhere. But when I'm just in any daily life while cooking and driving, I listen to instrumental music, mostly that is very upbeat and inspirational. Because, as you know, music really makes a big impact. I do read books. I love sitting on my couch and reading a book. But also when I'm traveling or cooking, I like to listen to audiobooks. So right now I'm listening to Dolores Cannon, Convoluted Universe, Book 3. That's
Wonderful.
really literally out of this world. And I love listening to videos on YouTube by like Bashar or, those who are really thinking about outside the box. And the book I'm reading right now is the series of book by Matthias de Stefano, The Conversations Between I and Am.
Wow. Sounds great. All right. All of that will be in the show notes. So if anybody wants to grab those same things to feel inspired, we'll make sure that you all can do it. Lolita, what is next for you, and how can people get in touch with you?
So, after becoming 6 times Amazon #1 bestselling author, I ran into a lot of people who also want to write books and they don't know how to get this story, or they're ashamed of this story. And I realized that for the longest time already being I coach other people how to write and get their story out and produce books and go on podcasts like I am here now. Thank you for inviting me. And so the next thing is that I am opening up for coaching for my story to impact mentorship. That's the next thing for me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And how can people find you?
The same website, beamazingyou.com, for everything, for my books, for my online programs, for all the coaching calls and all that. It's all in one spot.
Perfect. All right. Well, Lolita, thank you so much for being on Our Future is Kind. Really love having you here as a guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
This episode's Kindness Challenge, the 1-minute Kindness to Self challenge for 7 days. Set a phone alarm to go off once per hour during your waking day. When it rings, pause for 1 full minute and do nothing except notice your body, breath, tension, emotions, posture. If you feel guilty, annoyed, or too busy, don't fight it, just note it. That reaction is data. Once per day, do one tiny thing your inner child would call kind. Tea on the porch, read 5 pages in a book, a short walk, a self-hug, a hug with somebody else in your family, a nap. Want to stay inspired so you can stay kind? Lolita's inspiration stack is wonderfully practical. Change the input, change the inner weather. Try an inspiration reset day where you swap lyrical music for instrumental upbeat tracks while driving, cooking, or working, and then add one mind-expanding listen or read that pulls you out of survival thinking. She mentions The Convoluted Universe, Book 3 by Dolores Cannon, content related to Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, and the Conversations Between I and Am series by Matthias De Stefano. All great options if you like big picture perspectives that loosen the grip of fear. Pair that with a journaling prompt from the episode, What am I afraid will happen if I slow down? And answer it like you're protecting your younger self. You've been listening to Our Future is Kind podcast, where building what's next is a choice. Make your next choice a good one and help build the future we want to live in.